Welcome to podcast number 242. Are you showing up with integrity every time? Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're doing well. This is a Build a Little Better podcast this morning, and I had this on my mind. I actually had somebody call me the other day to talk to me about this subject. The subject is about integrity, and it's something that's really near and dear to my heart. And I've had a lot of experiences with it throughout my career. And so I really wanted to give just a quick little podcast about it, about integrity, and hopefully make a difference for anybody out there that's listening to the podcast and might be facing some of the some of the same challenges at work. So when I think about honesty is telling the truth all the time. Integrity, to me, this is my definition. In fact, I can also look it up for you. But integrity to me is doing the right thing even when nobody is watching. So I'm going to look up integrity, the definition here. Let's see what Google says. The quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness, the state of being whole and undivided. I really like that one. So the state of being whole and undivided. So this happens all the time. I hear it over and over and over and over. Just about situations where people are put in a situation where they're divided between what they know to be right or what their moral principles are and what they're told to do at work. And my advice for anybody in construction is never ever do that to somebody. Make sure that you are always being honest and acting with integrity. These two things are key. I remember when I first built the Field Engineer website, before it was taken down and upgraded for a new learning management system, there was a little picture on the front of the website, and it was honesty and integrity. And there was, I used an X and a Y axis on a little image there, and then there was another third axis, the Z axis, which was motivation. And so for field engineers, my point was, you're always going to be on the mark when you have honesty and integrity and driven forward by motivation. I remember that little symbol. It seems kind of silly now, but the graphic was nicely done and it was pretty. But what I was noticing is, everything else is accentuated by this. So let me tell you a couple of stories. So the first story was, I was the superintendent in this story. And this is a true story. And I started grading contractors on site, and it was improving everything. It was improving the way that the project was being run. There were F players and C players that were now making their way up to B and A players. It was fantastic. And I remember that the self-perform that was on the project site for us, for me, for the general contractor, just did not want to fall in line, did not want to follow the grading system, and they were getting Fs. And I was publishing this to the owner and to everybody on the project side. And I got a comment that, hey, don't publish this and make this known to the owner or anybody else. We won't get future work if this keeps happening. And my point was, hey, this is easy. Just start acting like an A player. This is all non-subjective information, right? You can go ahead and fill out your safety walks, show up to meetings on time, keep your areas clean, be on schedule, do these things, and you'll be an A player. But the first question was, hey, can you favor us and just mark the grade differently because we're self-performing, we're the part of the same company? And I said, no, I'm not going to be undivided in this. This is not right. It's not ethical. It's not honest. It's not moral. And so I said no, and I got in trouble for it over and over and over. And people kept trying to strong arm me into doing this. And I said, no, look, you either have two choices with Jason. You can either fire me, or you can fall in line because I'm not going to do this. And that's finally, I remember it was about 3 months. They tried to strong arm me for about 3 months until they figured there was no other way to get this done other than to do the right thing themselves and to follow along with what the other trade partners were doing. And I just thought, how silly is this? And throughout our industry, how many times do our own self-perform give us a hard time because they want us to play favorites? That's not how it works. Self-perform, whether it's concrete or framing and drywall or electrical work or whatever, self-perform should be the safest, the cleanest, the most obedient, the most helpful trade on the entire site. Let me tell you another story. When I was planning a project, there was a large need. I mean, if you saw the spaces and you saw the design, I think you would agree with me. There was a need on the basement level and on level 1 to install priority walls. To install mostly, like most of the floors would have priority walls. And on the other floors, levels 2 through 4, there wasn't a need for that. It was more open. The overhead MEP was going to go in first, not a big deal. So in the basis of schedule and in the basis of estimate with the team, we had decided together with the team, we wrote in there that the basement and level 1 would be built with at least 80% of the priority walls in place, and that the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing overhead would have to be brought in and palleted by spools and installed. In the upper floors, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing trades would be able to install most of their main lines and most of their overhead before we did walls, right? So maybe a couple of priority walls, not a big deal. So I wrote that in there, their contracts, because I want to buy the behaviors that I want. And I want trade partners to be successful. I want them to have the right estimates for things. I want them to have the right crew counts. I want them to have the right materials, the right schedule, everything. So all of this was predetermined. Everyone agreed to it. Everyone signed the contracts. And then guess what? Guess who shows up again? We do the basement. It was a smashing success with the priority walls. We do level 1 priority walls, worked out well. And then on level 2, literally self-perform came up and asked me, hey, can we just keep doing this? Let's just do this. You're the general contractor. You can tell everybody. And I'm like, wait a minute. Our mechanical folks have prefabricated this stuff and spooled it to where it's not within the perimeter of the room. We can't do this to them. That's not what we agreed to. And the question was, well, we're all part of the same company. You need to help us meet our financial targets. This works better for us financially. Just make them do it. And I was like, no, that's dishonest. I'm not going to do that. Like that's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. And they kept trying to strong arm me again and like telling me over and over that this is what I needed to do and lecture me about how we're supposed to be a part of the same company. And I got so annoyed. And I'm like, hey, everybody, like, I don't care if you're the same part of the company. I don't care if, what you're asking me to do, if it's not honest, if it's not moral, and if it's not according to the principles and how we wrote these contracts. And I'm not going to be dishonest to the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing folks. I'm just not going to do it. And finally, Self-Perform called on some of the leadership of the company, my bosses, to come down, and they started showing up every week. And I'm like, what is going on here? And it turns out that like they were tattletelling. They thought they were saying nasty things about me to other people because I was doing what was right, which has been like a really like a recurring theme for me throughout my life. People will do it at work. People will do it at church. People will do it all over the place. Like they'll ask me to do dishonest things. My answer is no. And they'll always try and get me in trouble for it. And so he kept coming down and checking in on me. And finally, they let the cat out of the bag that the checking in on me was because they thought I was being rude, ruthless, and mean. And at the end of the day, leadership supported me. They were like, yeah, you need to do what's honest and what has integrity. And I was very proud of the company that I was working for doing this, for having a moral stand. The individuals would self-perform. Again, we're just looking at it from a financial standpoint. And I remember them talking to the trades, and the trades were like, we are going to lose a ton of money if you make us do this. And I'm like, I'm not going to make you do this. We had an agreement. We wrote this into the contracts. If we were going to change it, then we would need to pay you for it, right? And so I held my ground. I stood strong. We did it the right way. But I remember just thinking to myself, I'm baffled. Why in the world would somebody be so greedy and dishonest that they would ask me to do this? So it wasn't easy. I got in a lot of trouble. I didn't make any friends. At the end of the day, the company supported me. Okay, did the right thing, and I was able to sleep at night. And so that's a little story from me to you. Now, somebody called me the other day, and this is another true story. And these stories happen over and over and over and over and over and over in our industry. And it has to stop. We have to get our stuff together. We need to get it together, everybody. I mean, construction needs to be known for honesty, for integrity, and for doing the right thing. This is what this person told me, that he was dispatched to a job site and had to finish up a punch list. And there were things that he noticed that weren't right. And all projects have things like this happen. This isn't specific to this company. He noticed, hey, there was a door not working here. There was a light not working there. So the existing punch list items that the owner had, he was instructed to complete, but he also noticed these other things. And so he started adding these things to a list. And the leader of the project executive said, no, don't do that. Don't add any new items to the list. This is not what we're here for. Only do what they're telling us. And he was like, well, you're willingly and knowingly asking me to leave things on a list and not take care of them, even though that's what we are obligated and morally and ethically obligated to do. And the project executive said, no, I don't want you to take care of it. Leave it. We don't care. This is not what we're doing here. And so that person was immediately, I like that definition, the state of being whole and undivided. That person was asked to be divided against what he knew to be moral and to be right. And it's not right. And no leader should ever, 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 ever put their people in that position. And I'm proud of that person because he went to somebody else in leadership and said, hey, what do I do? And that other person dealt with it in an honest manner and said, absolutely, give me that list. We'll get it done. I will make sure that this gets through. And here we have a junior person on the project site having to remind a senior leader of the duty and the obligation to be moral and upright. And I am saying, and I am begging you, and I am pleading with you on this podcast, please never put your people in that position. I could give you 6 more stories, but I want this to be a small Build a Little Better podcast. I could give you 100 more stories of where this happens. And I want to challenge you. I want to ask you on this podcast, please, are you asking people to do things that are dishonest? Are you asking people to do things that are unethical? Are you asking people to violate their morals? Please, please, please don't do this. Let me ask you some personal questions here. And I got this from the book, The 5 Essential People Skills, and it showed up just at the right time. What messages are you sending by your actions, words, and attitudes? Ask yourself whether you've done any of the following. And this is on page 130, by the way. Have you ever conducted personal business on company time? Have you ever used or taken company resources for personal purposes? Have you ever called in sick when you weren't sick? Have you ever engaged in negative gossip or spread rumors about someone? Have you ever passed on information that had been shared in confidence? Have you ever knowingly violated company rules or procedures? Have you ever failed to follow through on something you said you would do? Have you ever withheld information that others needed? Have you ever fudged on a timesheet, invoice, or expense account? Have you ever knowingly delivered second-rate goods or services? Have you ever been less than honest in order to make a sale? Have you ever accepted an inappropriate gift or gratuity? Have you ever taken or accepted credit for something that someone else did? Have you ever failed to admit to or correct a mistake, or knowingly let someone else make a mistake and get into trouble? These and other seemingly minor actions reflect who you are and what you stand for. When it comes to etiquette, everything is important, especially the small stuff. In your action plan, make clear notes of ways you can improve in this area, and then diligently follow up in your work and in your personal relationships. This is from the 5 Essential People Skills by the Dale Carnegie Training Institute. And I just want to say that these are really important considerations. How we do one thing is how we do everything. And I'm not trying to insult you, but what you do is who you are. And do you want to be dishonest? And do you want to be somebody who lacks integrity? And are you somebody who is only out there for the almighty dollar? Please, please, please consider this, because again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And do you want to be that person? Or do you, like I do, want to be somebody with honesty and integrity, a true builder with influence that will change the world and do things that will treat people fairly and leave at the end of the day having acted with morals, with uprightness, not having it all being undivided between what they've done, what you've done, and what you feel like you should have done. Always act with honesty and integrity. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.